We can't let Brian White have all the fun. So I did a little bit of a field trip today. I went out in the field. I was the inveterate reporter going out and doing an interview. And I can't say that I now know a tremendous amount more about the folks that are out there protesting at Tesla dealerships and service centers and whatnot, but I guess I know something. And I thought I would share that with you. Now, I will tell you that the interview that I did do with one person and then several of the other people in the crowd kind of got involved. By the time I left, they said that they didn't want me to show their faces, that they didn't want to be on the internet. Yeah, I don't know what changed their mind. I guess they seemed to be worried that I might make them look bad, or that I might cut their story up, that I might, do special cuts so that it would take their statements out of context. They thought maybe that I would overspeak and laugh at them and make fun of them. Now, of course, I might have done the second thing, but I would have never, ever taken what they said out of context. That's a liberal approach. That's what the CBS and ABC and others are doing all the time to Musk and Trump and everybody else. So, no, I would never do that. That would be unethical. It would be, I'm not even a real reporter, and I wouldn't do that. So anyway, I'm just going to tell you that it was an interesting trip. Went out to the service center here in Riverside. The folks that were protesting over in Riverside were all old, old. It doesn't mean every single one, but pretty much all the folks I looked at. I mean, it was about 50 or 60 people protesting, and all of them were old. When I say old, I mean 60, probably mostly 65 plus. Many older than that. Some of them might have been my age. And then I started looking at other pictures of some of the other protests, and guess what? That's kind of what's going on. Someone asked me, well, what about was there a makeup in terms of race or sex? Well, all white people, 100% white people. There was no blacks, there was no Mexicans. And I live in a neighborhood that's about 55, 60% Spanish. No blacks, no Mexicans, no Asians I don't think I saw a single Asian. Pretty much all white, and about half and half women and men from what I could tell, although maybe a little bit more women than men. All right. Now, what about the actual protesters in terms of what they said or the conversation I had with them? Well, to tell you the truth, the main issue that these people had was Social Security. Yeah, they think that Elon Musk is an autocrat and an oligarch. They don't even know the definition of an oligarch. And that every single civilization in history has been run by oligarchs. I mean, there is no exceptions. If any of you happen to be historians and you want to throw up a couple of exceptions for me about when there's been any part of the United States or any part of the world that has not been run by oligarchs, including, I don't know, I think Jefferson and Washington were both extremely wealthy. I think Adams too, Franklin. Anyway, these were people that were running stuff long before they put the Union together, and some of them were pretty young to be that wealthy. Anyway, all I can tell you is that they were concerned about the autocracy. They were concerned about oligarchyism, but they were also, man, they had drunk the Kool-Aid on everything. I mean, just go right down that they were bumper stickering me to death. So their big concern, though, at the end of the day, was all about Social Security and Medicare. That's really what it came down to. They're going to take away my Medicare. They're going to reduce my Social Security. What's going to happen to my? And of course, this is the biggest nonsense. If you're worried about that, I hope you're not. I'll just say a couple of thoughts about that. Number one, there's no way you can reduce the amount that you're sending out to people. There's no way that you can disqualify somebody if they meet the age qualification. If somebody's on Social Security because of some kind of a disability or some kind of other situation other than age, yes, you can certainly look into whether they're dancing the night away and claiming that they've got problems with their legs. That's a fair, reasonable thing to do with regard to both Social Security and Medicare. But there is, and so we expect and probably understand that there's a lot of fraud going on in Social Security and Medicare. But nobody in DC is interested in cutting anybody's legitimate Social Security check or the legitimate Medicare coverage. Not a single person I have ever seen is interested in that. Now, there's the other side of it too, which is that they're going to run out of money in 2033 unless we do something. We talked about that for a minute. I even asked, well, what do you think about the idea of taking a portion of the money in the trust fund and putting into the S&P where it might earn an average 11% instead of just earning, roughly, let's say around 4% in treasuries. Oh no, we don't want to do that. So, they don't, not even interested in listening to ideas. No, they only want every single one. No, just tax the rich more. It's like I say, it's like bumper stickerville. I mean, it's like whatever their leadership is saying. No, you got to tax the rich in order to make sure that Social Security doesn't go in the toilet. So, from my point of view, I think that what Musk is doing is the right thing. Find out if you can save it just by finding the fraud and abuse. If you can do it that way, you may save it for years and years and years. I also think it's a great idea to do some kind of a portion of the fund that goes into the S&P. But anyway, that's what I found. So that was the number one thing on their mind. And obviously, if people are actually legitimately worried that their Social Security check is not going to show up, yeah, that's going to be a problem. And that could get people out of bed, get people off their chairs and out into the streets. And that did seem to be the number one thing. Now, it seems unlikely to me that, I don't think you could find anybody. This is one of those things like people say, well, Randy, I don't believe in God. Prove to me that God exists. Prove to me that there's any kind of a miracle, there's any such thing as miracles. Well, I can't, because no matter what I point to that's a miracle, you're going to say, well, that's just science. We just haven't figured it out yet. Well, it's the same thing here. I think that you're not going to be able to prove that Trump and Musk don't want to cut Social Security. I think you could march Obama and Oprah out on the same stage and have both of them say there isn't a single person in Washington, D.C. right now who has any interest in cutting legitimate payments to Medicare or Social Security, and they still wouldn't believe it. They go, oh, see, they got bought off. I mean, really, that's the kind of thing we're facing right now. It is religious, and I don't think there's a thing that we can do about it. So it was interesting, as many said they were previously Republicans, and that actually tracks with the recent polls showing that old folks are starting to drift towards the Democrats. And this began with the demagoguery the first time Trump was in office, and I think it's just getting worse, that the Democrats have always demagogued the Social Security situation, talking about, and Medicare. Oh, Granny, they're going to push Granny off the cliff in her wheelchair. I mean, this has been really, really pushed. And has anybody seen any reductions? No. So, I mean, most of you guys that are watching right now are on, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm just letting you know what they're thinking. And we are seeing this shift among old folks from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party. And it's really amazing to see that we're having this opposite shift among young people, strong shift, especially among young men who are saying, nope, I'm out. I'm not doing the Democrat thing anymore. I want to be a Republican. Well, obviously, they're not terribly concerned about Social Security at this point. They're more concerned about getting a job and more concerned about the fact they don't have a wife and more concerned about the fact they don't think they're ever going to be able to afford a house. And they're looking at maybe the Republicans, maybe they have a solution, since the Democrats have been in power for 12 of the last 16 years and don't seem to have provided any kind of solution. Anyway, of course, the entire group was on board with the idea that Elon Musk is not a scientist or an engineer. They could spit that right out like a parrot. Boy, it's really, really sad to see. I gave a couple of thoughts to them that might have caused them to consider otherwise, but that was going to be a no-win battle also. It wouldn't have mattered. Again, it wouldn't have mattered what I said. It wouldn't have mattered if I said that he had been voted into the most prestigious organization of engineers in the world. It wouldn't have mattered. Anyway, so the other interesting thing, they gave zero idea to the idea that electric vehicles are only a big deal today because of Elon Musk. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. There's lots of other people. No, that wasn't going to fly either. Unbelievable. So one last thing that happened is that oh, I got one more two thing. I got a couple of things here. But anyway, as I started to wrap things up, and they now knew my point of view, they became cold. Some of them started turning their backs to me. Not the way, not like turning their back to me, but they starting to turn away. No eye contact. No calling me names. Yeah, calling me names, indicating that my ideas, my thoughts were stupid. I kept saying to them, I have never said anything about your thoughts. I've never, not once today have I said any of your ideas are dumb or stupid. I've never called you a name. I said, why are you guys calling me names and saying that my ideas aren't worth talking about? So anyway, that was, I think it was telling again. Anyway, I did have a short debate with some of the people there about, I'm sorry, let's see, I'm sorry. So the last thing I think with regard to the actual going to the to the protest was because I had suggested the idea on here and on X the other day that maybe we should do counter protests at this massive protest they're planning for next Friday. And I've decided no, that's not a good idea. I think we need to let them die the death that they're going to die by seeing the stock continue to go up every day. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. The stock is doing quite well. I have a feeling that sales are doing very well. We don't have the ability to really look into that in a way that we would love to. I would love to be able to ask the people at the different centers how sales are, but they tend to not want to talk to me as a reporter. Sometimes I've gotten some conversation, but not necessarily on subjects like that. But without being able to get into the computer and see what the backlog looks like, it is hard to know how sales are going. We have some indications, even in Europe, that sales are doing very well, and in China, but I'd love to know what's happening here. Anyway, so yeah, so no counter protest next Friday. So Gary Black writes this. He says, for those of you who have never managed a PR department, please see Gary and the 62949. He put a recent post. He says PR has a dual mandate. Now, if you've watched my channel for a long time, you know I've talked about this a lot. I have done thousands of PR releases. I mean, at least thousands, maybe tens of thousands of PR releases over the last 55 years. And so there's two things you're trying to do with regard to PR, at least two. These two are good. You want to hold media accountable through fact checking. So when they call you and they say, "Hey, listen, we got this situation. What, please give us something that we can give us your side of the story." Or maybe you know that there's a story breaking and you make sure you get out ahead of it. There's all kinds of things you can do in that way. There's reputation management. If you got somebody in the organization whose reputation is going to be damaged or has been damaged, how do you manage that reputation? Bunch of stuff like that. But then there's the other thing, which is where I spend most of my time in PR, proactively shaping the overall perception that tells the story of the company, in this case, Tesla's story. Well, he says, Gary goes on to say, ultimately, the goal of PR is to maximize your voice, the share, the percentage of the voice that's out there, the percentage that's positive stories about Tesla versus those that are negative. Today's consumers are only hearing one voice, and it belongs to Tesla's competitors because, according to Gary, Tesla is not out there providing a separate voice. And I will agree with them. The PR department of Tesla is not providing a separate voice. And I've agreed with Gary all along that I think they should have a PR department. It's not expensive and it can be very, very effective, in particular with things like in the automobile business, providing writers with a vehicle to test and all this kind of stuff. So I think there's real opportunities for a great PR department to do stuff for Tesla. However, where I disagree is that Elon Musk is the greatest PR guy of all time. And just in the last week, you could not pay. There's not enough money to pay for the stunt in front of the White House. There's not enough money to pay for the hour that he spent with his troops as a live stream on Thursday night. I think that was Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. There is not enough money to pay for what Hannity and some of the other people on Fox News are doing right now in terms of actually talking about Tesla and talking about how it's important to get a Tesla. Just go on and on and on about what's happened only in the last 7 days with regard to PR for Tesla. I don't care who you pay, who you hire for your PR. They're not going to be able to top that. So from my point of view, Elon Musk is an amazing PR champion. All these interviews that he does, all these times that he goes on these shows or goes to these conferences and is interviewed or does speeches, all of that is PR, and it's amazing and is part of the reason why there's 100 PE on Tesla. All right, so that pretty much wraps that up. What about the ultimate likely direction of Tesla stock in the near term? First of all, the political stuff, the Doge stuff, and the protest, just noise. What the vast majority of investors want is a return on investment. And since Tesla is still trading with a 100 PE, apparently the market thinks the pot of gold is still there at the end of Tesla's rainbow. You don't see any of the other Mag 7 trading at 100 PE. In fact, they're all under 40. Tom Lee thinks that Tesla is about to do the next leg up in a significant and serious way. He just put that up on X a little while ago today. Okay, Business Insider, which I never quote. And on today, I've got 2 articles from Business Insider. What in the world is going on? So the first one's kind of negative, mostly negative. Business Insider says, with any other CEO, it would have been a 5-alarm emergency. Yet Elon Musk's recent last-minute after-hours all-hands with Tesla workers was a reminder that the company's frontman, perhaps singularly free from the norms that any other chief executive abides by, can get away with a lot. The big question is, how much? Even though he's convinced employees over the years to work in tents, sleep in the office, etc., his leeway with workers, investors, and customers isn't endless. Musk observers told Business Insider. Who are these Musk observers? Well, we'll hear from a couple of them. But last time I checked, Tesla and SpaceX still get the very best engineers in the world. They get something like 3 million people applying for jobs at Tesla per year for 10,000 positions or something. Anyway, he says the quote here is from Will Schroeter. He's the founder and CEO of startups.com, a tech accelerator. He says there's no version where he's in this many things all at once and it goes well. Well, right away, I should have just thrown the article out, right? Because this is not new. This is not something different for Elon Musk being involved in all these things at once. And I will argue the absolute opposite, that an entrepreneur like Elon Musk needs to have his plate completely full to overflowing, and preferably with new, bright, shiny objects in order to keep his brain just pumping with great ideas. He says, they say that he, meaning this Will Schroeter guy, he pointed to the sheer number of items on Musk's to-do list, from controlling a half dozen companies, more than that, including Tesla, X, and SpaceX, to trying to remake the federal government. He says Musk's decision to hold a company-wide meeting with little notice that kicked off at about 9 o'clock in Austin after tech glitches delayed the start, oh no, not that, sends several negative signals. That's according to Melissa Schilling, a professor of management and organizations at New York University's Stern School of Business. Schilling, who has studied Musk's career and businesses, told Business Insiders that among them is a sense of uncertainty. So his employees have this uncertainty now. She says that's a really dangerous position for someone who is so central to the brand. Starting a meeting with bedtime routines might be when bedtime routines might be underway can ding worker morale too. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think there's a problem with Elon Musk worker morale. If you signal to employees that their time isn't valuable, you really damage that relationship, she said. When he comes into town, it's like the rock stars coming into town. I'm 100% positive of this. It's one thing to flout some corporate norms in the early stages of a company, but Musk is well past that honeymoon, according to Schilling. His actions affect too many people now to get away with the boys will be boys behavior, she said. Anyway, Musk didn't respond to requests for comment from Business Insider. Schroeter, the first guy, said Musk often gets given the benefit of the doubt, but that if he had to deal with a major crisis, what? He gets the benefit of the doubt, but if he had to deal with a major crisis such as Tesla's shares dropping 80%, they haven't dropped 80% from their December high. That is actually correct. It says they're down by about 50%. That is correct. Musk stands would be less forgiving. In such a case, you don't get to screw around with the government and do cuts at the government, Schroeder said, referring to Musk's other role atop Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. It's not the first time Musk's attitude to work has drawn attention. The world's richest man has famously said that he slept on the floor of the Tesla factory when the company was mired in production hell for its Model 3. He also said he crashed on a couch while in the throes of refashioning Twitter into X. Even though some founder mode, and that was the last time that everybody worried that he couldn't handle everything at one time. Even though some founder mode flourish is part of Musk's operating model, Schilling said this evening, the evening Tesla meeting, the meeting that Elon had the other night, suggests unpreparedness and that only belatedly realizing something important was happening at the company. No, I think it was actually responding to Dan Ives. I think he actually respects Dan Ives. And then Gary Black, I know that I think he follows Gary Black. He heard from a couple of different people that maybe there needed to be some more balance and a showing. And I think he responded to that and just felt like it might be a good idea. Tesla has suffered recent instances of vandalism to its vehicles and its showrooms, which has been attributed to those on the political left. Attributed to. Attributed to. I love that. And of course, a slide in the stock, which is normal. And as Brian Wang has pointed out multiple times on this channel, this is the normal pattern for Tesla. The car maker's shares regained some ground Friday, actually Thursday and Friday, as investors appeared heartened by Musk's message during Thursday's evening meeting. In it, he implored workers to hang on to their shares and talked up the company's cybercab. That was it. That was the only thing he talked about. How about I have 14 things that everybody was blown away by? If you didn't hear that, you need to look back yesterday morning. Yes, Friday morning, I made a list of the things. And then Brian Wang and I have been talking about it last night. We will be talking about it again just in a few minutes, 7:45 tonight. One reason Musk can swing a last-minute evening meeting is that in virtually any other company would raise eyebrows or worry staff is that most people already expect him to be a little bit chaotic and anything but traditional, said Dory Clark, a communications coach who teaches at Columbia Business School and wrote the book, The Long Game. This is a person who smoked dope on the Joe Rogan show. Oh my goodness. Clark said Musk's long-standing reputation as an improvisational, emotional CEO might blunt possible concerns that he is erratic. Emotional? She said that the meeting could have instead sent a message to employees that Musk is still paying attention and cares about his companies. Yet, Clark said, that alone likely won't be enough to continue to buoy worker and investor sentiment without further action to show he's engaged in addressing challenges at Tesla. How about being in all these different situations over just the last week where he was doing PR for the company? I mean, is that more important? I don't know. She calls it Schroeder calls the Steve Jobs effect. Schroeder, who runs the tech accelerator, said Musk's decision to speak directly to workers is more effective than sending an email or relying on corporate comms, the corporate comms team. There isn't one. There's something different when you stand in front of people, even if it's on Zoom. 10 times better in person. It's a way of showing you share their concerns, he said. Yet Schroeder said how much leaders can ask of workers is often bound by how much they're willing to follow you through a fire. And I'm saying that Elon Musk's employees are willing to follow him through a fire. He said that for Musk, like Apple co-founder Steve Jobs, workers' loyalty is often high enough that employees will strive to meet tall expectations, including long hours. There's only one Elon Musk, he said. That isn't me being a fanboy. I'm just calling it for what it is. Schroeder said Musk's track record shows he usually comes out ahead, but that 99.9% of CEOs don't have the luxury to ask as much as he does. The people that follow him, the people that work for him, they believe in the cult of Elon, Schroeder said. Most founders or CEOs don't have anywhere near that kind of pull. Then the other article from Business Insider, sorry, but this is the last story of the day. Here is some detail on the stunning increase in retailers and investors piling into Tesla stock. I brought this up, I think maybe this morning, maybe it was yesterday, but here's some more detail on that. Retail investors can't get enough of Tesla, even as the stock undergoes a 50% haircut. Data from JP Morgan shows that net retail buying of the stock was positive for 12 consecutive days, totaling 7.3 billion of new retail money coming into the stock. Well, this is not the longest consecutive streak of retail buying in Tesla. It is the highest magnitude among all past buying streaks in over a decade, according to Emma Wu, a strategist at JP Morgan. According to Wu, the trading activity suggests that retail investors are still in buy the dip mode, seeking opportunities as the broader stock market enters correction territory. I would say that it's also, at least partially, conservatives who, for the very first time, are saying, should I be investing in this company? While retail investors are buying up Tesla shares, insiders of the company are not selling. Since November, insiders are selling. This is a ridiculous and stupid statement. I shouldn't even repeat it. So we know that Kimball sells. We know that what's her name? The chairman of the board sells the stock. Anyway, they sell on a regular basis because they don't want to be seen to be that beholden to Elon. They want to have this distance. And that's just, it's been a pattern. It's not new. It happens every time they get their paycheck, so to speak, their options to buy more. The stock sales occur mostly at prices between 300 and 400 per share, according to filings, etc. James Murdoch, a director on the board, also, so etc. Let me go back down here. But at a town hall hosted on Thursday, Tesla CEO Elon Musk urged Tesla employees to hold their stock despite the volatility. And if you read the news, it feels like Armageddon. Elon said, I can't walk past the TV without seeing a Tesla on fire. What is going on? Musk said on Thursday night before adding that autonomous driving will unlock Tesla's true value on Wall Street. So there you go. Got to pay attention. I always have to distinguish between what is actual, just plain old noise in investing and what is, as I didn't understand this concept until recently. What is noise and what is signal? What is signal is the fundamentals of the company. And I don't know about you, I'm still figuring that the fundamentals of the company are extremely, like no company in history, and that the risk reward opportunity in terms of how much the stock could go up versus how much the stock might go down is extraordinary. Again, like no other company in history. That is not investment advice. That is lifetime of investing advice. So, all right, listen, last night, as I mentioned, Brian Wang was on. So was Cern Basher, of course. Cern Basher was on again this morning. No, Cern Basher was 2 nights ago, and then again this morning, Brian Wang last night. Brian Wang, all of it. It's just amazing. It's hard to just keep telling you that every single show is amazing, but they are. These people, they have so much good stuff to talk about. Anyway, Brian's on again tonight, so please come back in at 7:45. But if you want to take a look at what he had to say last night, I'll put the card right there. Hit the like if you haven't already done it. Hit subscribe and notify. And then, of course, love to have you be part of the Patreon group and support the channel. It's Randy Kirk. It's been great talking to you.